Hello and welcome to a new devlog video for Peasant Uprise. I have actually received a lot of questions regarding the availability of a demo or when the game will be ready in Steam, so I felt it was the right time to talk about my project management approach as well as the overall status of the project. Peasant Uprise is my first PC game, it's my first 3D game, and my first game done in Unity. I really only have experience creating and launching web MMO games, which are normally referred to as text-based games. So I entered this project quite blindly and without a baseline, and aside from some prototypes, I was still pretty clueless about Unity as well. With all these unknowns, it was hard for me to plan an entire game thoroughly. My approach was more to have an overall idea and keep building on it as I progress, using the visual outcome as a source of inspiration to build the rest of the ideas. In a way, you could say that this approach fits well as an agile project. Agile is a project management methodology where you set yourself some goals or tasks for a limited amount of time called a sprint, and you maintain a backlog of ideas that you evolve over time. At the end of each sprint, you pull from the backlog a bunch of tasks for the next sprint and you just focus on that. The advantages of this approach is that you can get going and start building things fairly quickly. You don't need to have a project or a GDD fully spec'd out in order to start working and seeing some results. It's also flexible as you don't commit to a proper feature set and you can change it as you go along. On the other side, the negatives are that from a code standpoint, not knowing what's ahead or what features may seem more reused than others will lead to a lot more refactoring. More importantly, the price for that flexibility is really not having a good idea about the length of the project. But aside from the pros and cons, what I really wanted was a simple system that allowed me to not get overwhelmed by all the work that was there to do. And to come clean, how one manages his or her project is a very personal decision. But for me, working in Agile helped me in just focusing on the current 1 week sprint without agonizing about the amount of work left. I track everything related to this project, not just code tasks. Creating a model, or a sound, even these devlogs, or some administration tasks like opening a bank account, etc. Everything that takes time that is dedicated to this project, I track in Trello. When it comes to a feature, my approach is to start with an analysis task. The reason for having an analysis task is to be able to record an idea as it comes without thinking too deep into how am I going to go about it. And it's when I drag this analysis task into the sprint that I think about the implementation. Let's take one of the things that I gathered from auditing level 2. I felt like the player would need some small help to get ready for battle. So I started with one analysis ticket to aid the player through the first battle encounter. What I'm supposed to do here is to take some time to think how am I going to accomplish this goal and write out any dialogue that might be needed. The deliverable of this ticket is in fact a set of other tickets of the actual implementation. So for this one, I decided to add a new NPC. So I need 2 tasks for this. An art task for the model, and a design task to create the prefab with all the configuration needed to make Logan a game actor. I also decided to accomplish this by adding 2 very small quests, so I will need 2 additional tasks, one for each quest. During the analysis, I realized that I don't really have a mechanism in place to track the addition of new tools. So a tech task is needed to construct a base quest class for tools. This base class will subscribe to a new delegate that will inform the game each time a tool is added into the inventory. Similar to the analysis tasks, which were more common in the beginning of the project, I also have audit tasks, which purpose is very similar. When I created this task to audit the first level, I didn't really know how many tickets will result from it. The downside of these kind of tasks is that you are happy that you've knocked off one ticket, but that ticket has resulted in maybe 5 new tasks. Therefore, this has been a project of fluctuation, where I do a ton of work, but the same amount of work gets added back into the project. Thus far, I've completed 1,923 tasks and have 301 remaining, indicating that I'm about 86% complete. But I also know that these audit tasks and some analysis tasks that relate to the publishing process will yield even more tasks. My short-term goal is to still finish polishing the first 3 levels, which in a way is an introduction to all the game mechanics and will give the player a good idea of what this game is about. In terms of features, there is only one feature that comes to mind that it has not been implemented, and that's the notion of organizing a feast. Feasting will be the best way to restore peasants' morale, and it would give more meaning to some resources like wine, professions like musician, and facilities as the stage. The actual feast itself will probably happen on the background at day's end, but I do have an analysis ticket to think about how I'm going to go about this feature. So not much features to share this week since it's been mostly auditing and fixing things, but it's been a while that I wanted to share the overall status of the game, as I'm getting closer and closer to a private testing phase. If you haven't done so already, please like, subscribe, and click on the bell to receive notifications of future uploads. Thanks. With that said, I'll see you in the next update.